What's up, YouTube? Mr. LaMessi here, and we just listened to the Diablo 4 developer live chat. I want to make sure I call it the right thing. Live chat with developers. It was not a scripted, planned one so much as them just sitting down around the campfire and having a chat. Fireside chat, I think that's what they called it. They wanted to discuss and address some of the issues and pieces that they saw, and let's dive into it. So let's start at the beginning. There was about 10-15 minutes of nothing really being discussed, talking about cookies, talking about the cookie talk was fun, whatever. Talking about the difference between a patch and a hotfix. I think they were really trying to set expectations for people around when they say, we're going to hotfix this. And people are like, why don't you change this too? And it's like, well, that would go in a patch. Seemed like they were trying to clarify that. Regardless, we pushed past that stuff and we dove into a few ideas. And I'm going to admit, there were a couple pieces. It started out kind of strong, but then it really tanked off for me. So we'll start with the strong pieces and go from there. Number one, with Renown, they discussed that people in new seasons were having difficult understandings of what it was going to exactly be. And they said, okay, for Renown, you're going to... So you have your season and then your eternal realm, right? So you have season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4. And then the eternal is non-ladder, right? Where all of your characters will go after. So, if you've unlocked the map here and explored the map here, and if you've gotten Lilith statues anywhere, then you will get the renown for that in each of the seasons. And I believe the stats from the Lilith statues as well. They will also show you the major city waypoints on the map, and the map will be explored, but they will be grayed out. This is my current understanding. I'll explain a little bit later why this is my current understanding. Right? So those stats, and that will continue through, but you will not get the Paragon points, the skill points, the max obols. Any of that stuff will not carry through into the seasons. You will still have to earn the rest of the renown. So you'll get whatever the renown would be for exploring the map and maybe the statues. So maybe you start with 1,000 renown or something, but you have to earn all the rest of it to get the rest of those pieces. So you have to do side quests again, go collect the waypoints again, go do the strongholds again, clear dungeons again, whatever pieces, right? It should cover the first couple of rewards, and then you'll need to do all the rest. Again, we'll talk about that later. The next thing they talked about was Corpse Explosion being the Blighted CE being a horrible mess where it just covers everything and you can't see anything on the ground. They talked about fixing that, and they talked about fixing alerts a little bit better, because sometimes there's cases where you can't see that something was fire enchanted and it's going to explode beneath you, and then you die and you couldn't see because there were massive monsters. So they said they're looking at the ordering of how that'll show on your screen. Maybe it'll just show at the very top. It might not look amazing, but you'd at least see it. I don't know. But they discussed that. The third thing they discussed, and this is probably the biggest improvement they made, is teleporting to Nightmare Dungeons now when you have a Nightmare Sigil, which is huge. Instead of having to do the Nightmare Sigil, open your map, go to it, find the nearest waypoint, teleport to that, run your horse all around, get there, and go in. They listened to our suggestion. I'm sure I wasn't the only person to suggest that. Please just let us teleport to the Nightmare Dungeon. And so they're going to have that, which is a nice addition. They also said it won't immediately teleport you, but it'll be something like it will open a portal for you to go in and go there. So that's a big clap. That's a big win. Then we started getting into not as great things and interesting things and kind of more confusing things. So they said they're looking at moving gems to the materials tab. They didn't want to just create a gem bag, I guess, but they want to move gems to the materials bag, and then from there, you'll just use your gems. They talked about gems being such an important resource that you like want to go pick up all the time, but they never mentioned actually giving gems a purpose. Because again, remember, right now, gems don't have a purpose. Gems, you socket them, and once you have your gems socketed, so I've got my like 5 perfect topaz, 2 emeralds, and 3 skulls or whatever, my royals or whatever, that's it. I don't need any more gems ever for the rest of the game. And they did talk about like giving them a gold value, giving them more crafting reason, something like that. So it's kind of confusing. Again, I'm like, I don't know what else to do with gems now, and they didn't seem to infer that there was going to be a further use. So that was kind of sad. Then they moved to crafting mats, and they said they want to make crafting materials uncapped. I'm not sure if this means they're also going to potentially uncap like red dust or anything. I'd kind of hope so, because again, it was kind of weird and annoying in PvP that I just ran into that cap. But they said for crafting mats, they're looking at uncapping those. So that was kind of the medium section. And then everything just kind of got... It just... The Campfire chat just turned into like non-answers after that and weird answers. So the next thing they talked about was resistances. And they recognized the problem that as you leveled up, resistances got less and less important the higher tiers you went to and all of this stuff, right? Like resistances just became less valuable overall. And they recognized the problem, but they weren't really sure how to fix it. And they said it's not something that will probably be fixed until like season 2, which is 4.5 months away. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm crazy. I understand that there is QA they need to do and stuff like that. But 4.5 months before we potentially will have a fix to resistances is kind of absurd to me. Like, that feels like such an important thing to get fixed. And it's like, go in, sit down for a day, sit down for a week if your formulas are that complex. I know it's not a simple numeric value change. I know it's going to be a little more complicated, but like that's such a crucial piece of the game. Like having your formulas for damage and resistance and damage reduction, all of that. And it's also kind of maybe a little bad in my opinion if it's so complicated that you can't even make a change to resistances for 4.5 months. Because what happens if we bring that out and then there's something else that really needs to be changed? Oh, vulnerable damage is way overtuned. We need to adjust that. Is that something that will also take 4.5 months? Like, that to me is really confusing, and it feels like, yo, you should be able to adjust bad formula issues faster. I don't think this is overreacting. I'm sorry. I think you should be able, if there is stuff that is, oh, resistances are pretty much worthless, or vulnerable damage is way too important, or whatever stuff, that it shouldn't take an entire season and a half to fix. If you think that's overreacting, cool. That's fine. I don't care. You can think that. I won't think that. That's totally fine. I really believe that damage and whatever formulas there should be closer where you can make those balances faster. Because also that is how you create a season and balance a new season. And oh, we're going to bring in these new items and maybe some new affixes and some more changes. And those things can create power creep, can create issues, nerfing and buffing builds. Like, that stuff needs to all be in a flexible enough state that you can go look at that and make a change and fix something within a week or whatever it is. So I'm personally very disappointed that resistances are going to take 4.5 months before we potentially get a fix to them, because it really feels like, this stuff needs to be fixed much faster. Again, resistances are pretty garbage right now. And it also, in my opinion, is highly affecting like high tier dungeons and stuff. As a sorceress, no matter how much DR I'm stacking, anything like that, if I'm in a level 70 plus dungeon, I get one shot by everything. If I could improve my resistances to help that damage reduction, that would be fantastic. But I can't. I just get one shot by everything. And so if fixing resistances requires you to rebalance the whole game, I mean, that's just kind of wild. I don't know. I think that is I don't even have a word for it. Just absurd to me. You can think differently. That's totally fine. If you think, it's not a big deal and it's great and I don't mind, totally perfect. Totally fine. Moving on. The next thing they talked about was disconnects. They said if you're disconnected, we're looking at building in a way where it'll automatically consume a scroll of escape and teleport you to safety. This is something they're looking to hopefully bring in to help with some of the disconnect deaths that people have had. This still doesn't fix all of the bug deaths and stuff. This will bring back disconnect scumming that people love to do. But I think, you know what? That is a good thing to add in. So I think at the very least it's a small benefit that may save a couple of characters, which is nice. So I thought we were getting on back on track here. But then they dove into level scaling. And the discussion went like this. I tweeted it, so let me go find my tweeter. The discussion went like this. Let's talk about level scaling. A lot of people have complained about never feeling like they gained power while they leveled up. And then that was Adam saying the start. And then it went to the devs and they said, okay, so items have a required level on them. And sometimes people look at that and then they think that I found a level 18 item, but I'm level 25. And what people need to do instead is they need to look at item power. Because that is what does show the power of the item as you level. And sometimes item caches are too high of a level compared to their character. Alright, moving on. And that's where I threw my hands up in the air. Because they didn't talk about level scaling at all. What? What? And you can say you love level scaling. That's great. I don't even care if you love it or not. All I know is a lot of people, not just myself, a lot of people have complained about the level scaling in the game, the issues with it in the game, how there's not really this great feeling of going through and you level up and all of a sudden you're weaker because you didn't get new gear. You're only powering up really when you get new gear or if you hit that big Paragon node. Other than that, you are getting weaker because all the monsters instantly scale with your level around you, right? This is something that, again, a lot of people have disliked. Y'all literally wouldn't be complaining if they didn't show the level numbers? No, it would be obvious. What are you talking about? Everybody would still complain. The point is you literally get weaker as you level up until you find that piece of gear. And then, I put the gear on, now I'm strong again. Now I suck again because I leveled 3 times. This is a massive system and thing they've built into the game. And they didn't even like double down on it and be like, this is why we still find that it's good, or this is, you know, they just didn't even talk about it. It was confusing. And it makes your character level a cosmetic. Your character level like no longer matters in the game and is actually detrimental because you will get worse the higher it gets. All that matters is your gear's power, and then if you hit an important Paragon node. Which, you know, you've got many steps in between that. So, level scaling, still a big problem in the game, in my opinion. Again, you can have an opinion that it's not. But we just have no clue what they think, if they're going to change it, if there's thoughts on it. I don't know. They just stopped talking about it. The next thing they talked about was social features. They talked about social features will get better. I'm pretty sure that's all they said. I don't think they said there's going to be a group finder or anything. They talked a little bit about like looking for group and stuff existing in other games, but they said not anytime soon, but social features will get better. That's all that I got from that. They mentioned kind of wanting to add it, but there wasn't anything beyond that that I heard. After that, they talked about teleport to a friend. This is something that a lot of people said, hey, like Diablo 3, I can right-click their portrait and I can teleport to them. And they said, quote, we aren't planning to change that, but we will keep an eye on it. So currently the layover is still required. You'll still have to teleport to town and then use the portal that is going to bring you to them. So there's still the thing now, but you have to do the layover. You have to do the go town first and then go there, as opposed to just go there. So no plan on changing that. Then there was a discussion about resource generation. They said, hey, a lot of people feel like resource gen is kind of bad. They said there will be a variety of buffs coming, and some to builds that have poor resource gen, but they don't want to invalidate resource generation. So they want you all the way through the game until the end game to still feel like you have to generate resource. Which, like, again, this is where I go straight to my opinion. One, basic attacks suck. I've always hated the generator spender system. This game is no exception. When I was playing through the game and I'd have to sit there and just cast a generator, not even hitting anything because I'm just like waiting in between, but just cast it to get mana to cast the skills I actually want to cast, aren't fun. I would rather chug a mana potion over and over and over again than do the generator spender. And I don't think chugging mana potions is a great system either, but I think it's a lot better than having to use a basic attack. That being said, carrying it into the late game, I'm a level 100 sorceress with a ton of like near perfect gear on, and I still have some resource generation issues, and that's with a character that has built a lot of resource generation into my character. It's like, man, I really feel like at some point I should be powerful enough to invalidate that and actually just be fine. And again, I kind of almost can, but something that I think actually feels the worst about it is that when I am around a large pack of monsters, I always have resource. When I am fighting a single monster is when I will run out of resource. And it sucks that so much resource generation is tied towards AoE. That to me is the worst part about it. Why does it have to always be tied to AoE? Why can't single monster not like I be able to keep my resource there? This is the same in other systems as well, in other games and whatever, but I dislike there needing to be lots of density for me to keep my resource gen. But as soon as I get to a boss or PvP with a single player or whatever it is, now the resource generation goes down and it's garbage. I think that's the bigger piece that I would hope they would fix overall. Moving on. Then they started talking about appearance options. They did a whole dive into I'm me and I can go get a haircut and it doesn't change who I am. So can my character go and change their hair after I've already made my character? They said this could maybe come into the game, but that would be later down the road. They're more focused on adding in more hairstyles rather than allowing somebody to go and change their hairstyle. After that, they talked about quality of life. Somebody asked a question about searching, filtering, all of that. They said the game will improve over time and these sorts of quality of life features will appear over time. So nothing concrete there. Nothing really in the way of that, which is sad because there's so many quality of life features that really should be in the game and are big wins for them to have in the game, whether that is better stash with better tabs, whether that is search, a loot filter, a search function for your stash, all sorts of pieces. There's so many quality of life features that need to be added in the game. So it was kind of disappointing for them to just say these will just be things that will appear over time. Which to me isn't like, yeah, we're putting a lot of focus on all of this. And then they went into a discussion about re-clarifying or just clarifying what actually is occurring for Renown and what's carrying over. And I'm just gonna show it.
Keypad, then you're next to a portal that has
Are you guys planning to buff any kind of resource generation, be it from passive?
Oh, that we're at resource gen.
So
page blog.
And have a different hairstyle. I don't have to roll a new me.
Here's the hairstyle
so I understand.
I will tell you, like,
Right, but I'm just saying, because I'm
The
charges, max obols, and purification, evaluating them all as they kind of come in. I'm going to take one last question, which is...
And who's it from?
Who's it from? And this one I think is just a clarification from people. This is from Nexian. It says, can you just re-clear something you said earlier so we can keep all skill points, potion charges, max obols, and paragon points from Renown for seasons?
right. That's an important thing to clarify. So, the Renown. So things like Paragon points at the end of the Renown bar. You will start with some Renown. You're not going to get those Paragon points that require finishing the Renown bar until you fill the Renown bar.
Okay, well, so that's my fault because I misunderstood. So it wasn't that they didn't understand. I misexplained it. So currently, like in the Eternal Realm, if I
Right.
on one character I complete the full Renown bar, so I get my obols and I get my Paragon points. If I roll an alt, I have those. I have the skill points. I have those potion charge. I have the obols. I have the Paragon points. Right now, being that are shared between my characters on my account.
Some elements of the Paragon system are shared between characters. Things like the Altars of Lilith also give you stat points.
Right, but I'm just saying that that's how it works today in the Eternal Realm in terms of going between one character to another. the renown unlocks on the bottom level are account wide. Yes.
In seasons, you will the things that are at the end of the renown bar, you will still have to acquire renown to get.
Right. That's why I was just trying to clarify what it is today for alts is different than what it will be in season reset. Right. So today with alts, I clear it all on my account. I get it across all my characters. What you're saying when we do a season reset, and if you clear it all on a character, or like when you have a map that's revealed in the Eternal Realm, when I go into the season, the map will be clear.
Right.
I'll have the renown for that, but I won't have like potentially the max 80 obols at the Paragon automatically unlocked because I haven't discovered enough. I haven't gone and hit all those waypoints that would fill that bar.
Right.
Yeah.
But you will have the renown for revealing the map, and you'll have the renown for collecting the altars of Lilith, to the extent that you have done that.
Right.
Yeah,
And that'll trigger the other things like potion and skill points. And
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
And Mr. Joey P, just pinged me saying like, you get the renown from the Fog of
Sorry,
War
who's
clear.
Joey P? Is that one of the community members?
Joey P. but yeah.
Question from our own team as associate designer.
He mentions you get the renown from Fog of War clear and the Altars of Discovery, which is what Joe had just mentioned. But then enough to get you through the first 2 tiers of renown in each zone. So
that was my fault. I thought it worked the way it works in the Eternal. Now it doesn't. It basically, we're just preloading you a bunch of renown that will then unlock the stuff for you. I get it. Yeah.
Got a pocket Joey P over there.
I know,
Pocket Joey P.
Pocket Joey P. Well, we...
What? I'm so confused. So, again, from my understanding, the way it works now for alts is that you do get everything, but I thought people were saying their alts didn't have like the map explored and all of that, and just the Altar of Lilith stats and obols. So I guess the pieces from the renown are coming through, but you're not getting the map and such. Your alt doesn't have altars. I thought you did get the stats from the altars though. And so in the future, you get the map exploration and the statues renown. I think you get the statues stats, but the waypoints, again, you don't get, except for the main ones are grayed out and you have to collect them. Or do you get the main city waypoints and you have to just collect the secondary waypoints? You get the stats but can rediscover the altars for more renown. No, I thought they preloaded the renown onto it. I don't know. And honestly, I'm not sure they fully know right now either. And I think a lot of us think we fully know it, but also are slightly wrong in some ways. So, all of this to be said, overall, I really feel like not as much was addressed in this discussion as I was hoping. And a lot of the things they did discuss were given answers that were, well, maybe later down the road, as the game improves, things will just happen. Social features will get better. There will be quality of life. Not even talking about level scaling. You'll just have your layover with teleport. I don't know. There was just a lot of stuff that I felt like I was really hoping for a lot from this chat. I was really hoping that they would come into this chat and they'd be like, yo, we heard the community. And it doesn't have to be they heard my complaints, right? But they could come in more and be like, yo, we heard things. y'all are saying that social features suck in this game. You can't find anybody. We're going to make that a priority. We can't give an exact date, but looking for group is going to be built, and we're going to find a way to get it in. We recognize that level scaling is tough, and here's how we're looking at addressing that, or this is the stuff, I don't know. I was hoping for more pieces with more answers to them. But instead, again, there's like a few improvements. Many things that we're keeping an eye on it. And many things that never got discussed at all. Yeah. I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, YouTube. Mwah. Peace, you guys.